What's up, real world climbers? I would like to welcome you to my headquarters, my climbing gym, my home climbing wall in my garage. If this is your first time discovering my channel, I'll tell you I'm super into home walls, and you're going to find that out very, very quickly. I did do a tour video of my wall, and I'll put that link up here as well as in the description below. So if you want to kind of check out the ins and outs of what we got going on here. But in this video, you're going to get a pretty in-depth look at my wall because we are doing a reset. So I'm going to take you through my process of resetting the home wall. And this one is going to be quite extensive because I'm making changes on basically every wall except for the moon board. And just to tease a little bit what's coming in the future for the moon board is that is actually going to get an upgrade near the end of 2024. And I'm really excited to share with you what that is, but I'm going to keep a little bit of intrigue there. So this video is going to span multiple days, so you'll probably see outfit changes this entire time because I'm doing quite a few different things to make my wall better, not just move holds around. Do keep in mind that as I'm sharing these different aspects of my reset is that not all of them might apply to you and your wall, and that's okay. I just want to give you a bunch of different ideas that you could use if you want to do your own reset of your own home wall. And speaking of home walls, if this is something that you're interested in but haven't quite pulled the trigger on of building your own home wall, then I do have some playlists that I'm going to link in the description that you can check out. I built a freestanding home wall, and I've built this setup in here that's basically an entire gym, and I have a lot of tips and tricks that I can share with you in those playlists, so make sure you check those out. So like I said, this is going to be a multi-day effort of resetting this, not only just because it's going to be time consuming to take down all the holds, clean them, and then reset them the way I like them. I have the 20-degree wall that's already set up as a spray wall that I'm going to be doing a full reset of and putting it back as a spray wall, but I'm going to be moving a lot of things around. Over on this side, I have a 30-degree wall that is not even filled up yet. And so I'm going to take the opportunity to kind of reset and fill that in its entirety. Basically every T-nut will be filled. And that is not only just this 30-degree section, but also if you look up, I've got this approximately 10-degree overhang on the ninja wall. That is part of that wall as well. And I do also have this vertical section back here on the other side. That is something that I haven't really utilized too much. It's mostly been for transitions between walls. However, there is one part of my reset process that I'm going to share with you guys that I'm particularly excited about that I think will help me get more use out of this vertical section. So before I dive in fully and start stripping all the holds off the wall, there is one thing that I want to make sure I do early on, and that is I want to find a way to relocate this volume. I have some ideas that I could actually move the volume and have it contribute to more square footage in my actual climbing gym instead of just having it cover something. I'm just not sure if it will fit, so that is what I'm going to do first. So I do have two volumes. I have this smaller one here, and then I have this larger one up here. And I really like the larger one. However, I did decide to put it up there, kind of out of the way. It does fill in a gap on my wall and help me get all the way to the ceiling, but it's not like I'm using it for a ton of things. But my whole point for putting it up there was that it really was in the way of everything if I put it square in the middle of one of my walls. And so I didn't really feel like I wanted to take a bunch of my flat space up, and so that's why I decided to put it way up high on my wall. Now this one's quite a bit smaller, but I'm kind of running into the same thing where there's a lot of holds and T-nuts that are behind here that I could utilize, but I still like the volume, how it changes angles and things like that. So I have two ideas of where I can move this. One of them, if it works out, would be like most optimal, and then I do have a backup plan. So my first choice is to take it and to put it in this gap up in this crease here. So it will actually be low enough that people can still walk under it without hitting their heads. But I think it would be kind of cool to have it as this transition between these two walls. to basically just install it right over the top of this triangle entrance because it is a triangle volume. So let's see if that actually is possible and if it pans out. And if not, we'll move on to option number 2. So one idea I had was if it would fit like this, but I'm not sure that it would screw in at the right angles. It would be kind of cool. But another idea is if it would fit in from the back. So I also don't think I really like that because it really doesn't add much. Like a couple T-nuts are showing. That's it. Yeah, so it's just basically not the right size, so I don't think I'm going to put it there. So my second thought is to put it up here next to the top of my campus board and making its way over into the Ninja wall. So I'm thinking something like that. This side that's got the green would go behind the Ninja wall, and I'd screw in from behind, and then I'd put a 2x4 across here to secure the top. I would have like this slopey kind of finish area here, a couple alternative angles here, but still leave room for a screw-on jug here, and the use of this wood here as a hold, which I've been using and I really like. So I think this is the direction I'm going to go, is adding some framing behind here to mount it right like just about like this. What do you think? So just with that little move, I'm adding a little bit of square footage there, but I'm also freeing up all this square footage here. Okay, so for me, that was the first thing that I really wanted to accomplish, was repositioning my volume. The next thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be marking certain holds on both of these two walls that I want to stay on for sure. The reason why I'm going to do that is because there are a handful of boulder problems on these walls that I personally think are like classics. They're really, really nice. They flow well, and I want to keep them on the wall. And secondly is I did do some videos where I climbed the problems that you guys set, and there were some individual moves or combinations of moves that I really, really liked. And so I'm going to be using those holds and those move combinations that you guys set, and I'm going to be adding a little bit of my own spice to it, maybe an intro into your moves or an exit out of your moves, because I really liked what you guys set. And so I'm going to be leaving some holds on the wall, so I'm going to be marking them with these fancy magnet tags. I did do a video on that recently, and so I'll put a link to that video also down in the description. But basically, I'm really excited about how simple this hack is. It's just colored duct tape with these neodymium magnets in there, so I can just put them on the bolt holes of the holes that I want to keep on the wall. For instance, this one right here is going to stay, this one here is going to stay, this one over here. I actually have a fake problem on my retro flash setup that just marks all the holes that I'm going to be keeping. So the next step is going to be stripping everything except for those holes that I'm marking. I'm going to actually wait to do the stripping for another day because I do actually have a friend coming over in just a few minutes, and we're going to get one last session in on the wall the way that it is currently set up. But in the world of YouTube, it'll be just a matter of seconds. So here we go. And we're back. It's the next day. Had an awesome session with my buddy Colin. Shout out to Colin for just jumping right in. He's been out climbing for a while, and he jumped right in and climbed, and we had a blast. And he got like 3 flappers on his first day back. So I finished marking all the holds on the 20-degree wall that I want to for sure keep on there. And so now it's just a matter of stripping everything down. So I'm gonna shut up, I'll throw a time lapse on. Here we go. Alright, so that's basically one wall all cleared off. I do have 2 T-nuts that I have to fix in order to take those holds off, but basically what's up there is what's going to stay up there. I'll strip all the tape, and then we're going to repeat it on the 30-degree wall and the vert wall. Now my plan for me stripping the 30-degree wall is that there are, again, a couple of problems that I want to stay on there. The yellow one is a classic crimp line that I really like, and so I'm just going to kind of keep that in place. And then the mint one is one that I've done all the moves in isolation, but I've not yet done the problem, and so that is kind of like a mini project, but I do really like it, so I want to leave that one up there. And the other thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be leaving any symmetrical holds on this left side in place, because eventually I think it would be cool to have a fully symmetrical wall in that section. I don't have enough symmetrical holds or like sets of holds to do that yet, but eventually I want to. So I'm going to leave the symmetrical holds and those 2 problems on this wall, but the rest is basically getting stripped. So now the 30-degree wall is pretty much done, as well as almost done with the vert section, other than this section up top, thanks to my helper, my son Gavin. So that finishes that phase, outside of the fact that now I have to sort, clean, and do all that with these holds, and get ready for the next phase. So what exactly is the next phase for me? Well, the next phase for me is I'm going to be setting my endurance weave. I've done an endurance weave on many of my different iterations of home walls over the years, and I really like it for a way to train endurance. It also conveniently puts jugs in a lot of different areas of the wall for future route setting. I do have some videos where I talk about the endurance weave already. I'll make sure I put links to those videos in the description. So I'm not going to like detail out, but basically what it is it is nice and comfortable holds, a lot of jugs, but I am going to move away from full big bucket jugs and move into a little bit smaller and make it a little bit more challenging than I have in times past. But it is these comfortable holds that I can hold on to for a long time. I'm going to just weave up and down and all around the complete headquarters in a way that I can just keep going for a long time, like minutes, 10, 15 minutes at a time. So it's just a way to have these comfortable holds that I can continue and stay on the wall and just move without getting overly pumped. Think of like arc training, if you've heard of that style of training in the past. My previous iteration of the endurance weave started on this 20-degree wall, and it went up and down and around. It skirted across the top of the moon board, and then it came down through the vert wall, and then it went up and down through the 30-degree wall. And then it finished over here, and you can start and finish in 2 different areas and go both directions. And each direction was 50 hand moves. However, I am going to go even bigger this time. Not necessarily more moves per direction, but I am going to have both an up and down weave, and something I've tried in the past as well, I'm going to try and do that again, is I'm going to have a traverse weave as well. So where it's going to go sideways first, up a little bit, then come back sideways, and then up. And the way I'm going to set it up is I'm going to have, again, 2 different starting choices. One of them I think is going to be down in this corner of the 30-degree wall, and then one of them is going to be in the corner here, kind of in that transition wall. And what that's going to allow me to do is to again have two different directions. So I can go the left circle or the right circle, but also I'm going to have two different choices on whether I'm doing the up and down weave or the traversing weave. So it should really give me a lot of variety, and that way I don't get bored just doing the same things over and over again. So I am working ahead a tiny little bit, just planning ahead. And that is because I do want to do a stamina tree that is like the ace, king, queen, jack, and then the clubs and all that stuff on the 30-degree wall. I'm going to actually do one on the 30 and on the 20. The slight issue that I have with making it feel uniform on the 30-degree wall is that the head wall up at the ninja is 14 degrees overhanging. So if I want the central hold that I put at the top of there to feel the same as the one that I put down at the bottom, then I need to overcome that additional 16 degrees to make it 30. So what I did is I just created this contraption here that is going to change my angle by 16 degrees. I already did all the math, I already did all the measuring with the bubble level, and so I'm going to mount this up at the top. That way the hold that I choose to put on here for that central hold will be the same feel as the identical hold that I put down at the bottom. So that was a lot of work just to get that one hold to sit at the same 30 degrees as the identical hold is going to be down below it, but I think it's going to be worth it. I'm really quite excited to have two different stamina trees. I'm just creating for myself like all this variety, which personally I think that when you have a home wall, you should try to build in as much as you can. So now I'm finally ready for the endurance weave, and I've picked a couple places for that to start from. So over here in that transition area, I have the first of like the two-handed starting hold jugs for the endurance weave. And basically from here you can go either direction, left or right. And then over here on the corner of the 30-degree wall, I have the other side. Again, you can choose to go left or right from here. In between there, transitioning through the vert section and across the top of the moonboard, and then back down this crease here. That is going to be a shared path. So both the up and down weave, which I've classified as going to be the gold, and the traverse weave, which I'm going to classify as the silver, are both sharing those holds, so it'll be nice and easy to remember. Another way I make this easy is the direction of the tape, down and right from the hold, tells me that it is a right hand hold, and I've even gone one step further and marked it as right and left appropriately. That helps other climbers that hang out here to just know the path a little bit easier, as well as even for me, like when I'm really feeling pumped and like I'm at the point where I could fall off at any time, I don't want to have to like think about anything. So I want to just know the path without having to think and just go. So having the indicators for right and left definitely help that. All right, so now we are to the point of our endurance weave of picking our holds at big comfy jugs. And I'm not going to pick quite as in-cut as I did in the past, but I do have more moves than I had in the past. So I'm going to try to find a balance between difficulty and comfort of the holds. So these are all my jugs that are not yet on the wall, and we're going to pick some that go on our weave. Finishing up our endurance weave then wraps up that phase of the reset. I'm trying to keep this video nice and short, but I also want to give you a lot of different ideas on what you can do on your resets. So here's what I have left. I'm going to set some boulders on these walls now that I have a relatively clean canvas. And so I'm going to experiment with my own route setting and my style and use particular holds that I really want to in specific ways. And this next thing I tell you about, I would also consider to be in the same phase. So I've invited a bunch of my local climbing friends, people that I know from the climbing community around here that want to come try out the home wall and just kind of have a gathering. I have hosted this type of gathering several times over the years, several times while I was in Minnesota, And then also once while I had Real World Climbing Headquarters 4 before we moved to this location. And so I thought it'd be really cool to bring that back. What I'm doing is there are a handful of those people that are going to be attending that do want to try their hand in route setting. Some of them are very experienced route setters, some of them are newish route setters, but I'm encouraging those climbers to come here and to set their own styles and set on my wall. And that way it'll help me put holds on the wall in different ways than maybe I would naturally think of. And I'm definitely thinking I'll find some gems in what they've created. So before I fully spray this out, I wanted to give them a chance at the wall as well. I am particularly interested in having some of the more experienced route setters set me some tricky climbs on the vert section to kind of make some vert slash slabby feel. So that is something that I feel personally is a struggle for me, and I'm not that good at it. So I'm really interested in getting some experience working with some of those setters and have them set me some cool things on the vert section. The first handful of routes that I do here on the 20-degree wall for myself are going to be kind of special ones. Just a few weeks ago, I did 2 videos about climbing routes that you guys had set on my spray wall, and I found a handful of the moves that I thought were really amazing and really good gems. So I chose to leave those holds on the wall. So when the spray wall is then again completed and every T-nut is filled, those moves will still exist the way that the original creator created them. However, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking a few of them where it's like maybe the middle section or the beginning section or the ending section that I thought was really, really good. And I'm going to be collaborating with those setters, and I'm going to be adding maybe an intro into their really, really cool moves, or an exit out and a finish off of what they had set. So I'm particularly excited about that type of collaboration where I take what I really liked that you guys created and I add to it. The climbers gathering we had the other day went really well, and we had a lot of fun. Got a few new routes from other people's perspectives. For instance, there's a nice pink one right here that my friend Vincent set, and my friend Jack even tried to set me some tricky kind of slabby slopey problems here. And what's cool is he's set like similar theme, like the similar feeling, but there's a hard, medium, and an easy version. And then this problem on the 30-degree wall with the red tape is set by my friend Vasyev Rodnikov. Very strong climber, former national champion, pro climber, just amazing. So this is actually a simulator that he set of a crux move that is on a very hard trad project he's working on. And so I can only imagine, like, if this is a hard crux move on a hard trad, like how tough that route will end up being when it finally goes. So now the remaining work to spray this out is going to be filling every single T-nut in here, adding in some screw-on holds on the 20-degree wall and the 30-degree wall. Basically, by the time we're done, every single T-nut should be filled. I'm not going to do every single T-nut on the vert section. I'm going to do enough footholds and such to get down through here for my endurance weave, and leave it open for more technical, like maybe some very small footholds and things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I have each of the types of holds represented in different zones on the wall. So imagine we're going to cut the 20-degree wall into a grid. I'll make sure I have a jug in each section, a crimp, a pinch, pockets. Make sure I have holds that are oriented different ways, underclings, side pulls, some down pulling, and just fill it in as much as possible. I'm going to start with bigger holds that take up more space first and work my way down to smaller holds. And also last time I didn't really fill this transition wall in as much, and I'm probably going to fill in every single T-nut on that one as well. So we're back at it trying to fill up this wall. In the meantime, I've actually acquired a few more holds. So if you have your own home wall, you already know this, but if you're just thinking about building a home wall, here's a little warning. Getting holds is addicting. So I got a couple more of these Cinrock holds, like this one here, and then I got some of these tile holds. They're like systems holds, so the different sides have different in cuts, and so I'm setting these up to be like closer, but not as in-cut, and then a little bit farther and a little bit farther, and they get more in-cut. So that should be interesting on this symmetrical wall. I got a couple of these symmetrical jugs up here, and then I also acquired some of these, I would call them like campus rungs, but they have pockets in them, and they have like a juggier style side on this side and like a slopier style on this side. I'm actually going to use them to revamp my campus board. I've already started to take off these wooden ones, like these ones up here. They're only about 3/4 of an inch thick, and so they're very fingery. And not that they wouldn't bring value in a campusing style workout, being so small and fingery, but I have other ways of working the small fingery pieces, like the moon board and more limit style bouldering on the other walls. And so I'm leaning towards going away from these on the campus board and going towards some bigger things. And so this will be bigger. I'll keep the Sinrock ones on there as well. Alright, we're done, finally. It ended up being like a little side quest distraction from the main thing of putting holds on these two walls, but I think it adds something pretty cool to the room. So now I've got this Sinrock campus rungs here, and then I got some bigger, these are even juggier, but then I also have the pockets as choices. Alright, so I finally think I've eliminated all the other distractions and the other things that I wanted to do, and I'm ready to just spray out these two walls. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with jugs. I already have quite a few jugs on the wall, so I don't need to add a ton, but I'm just going to make sure that there are jugs in really every little section. That way, really, no matter where a person is climbing or looking, they're going to find something that is usable. I'm not going to put all the jugs in just straight down pulling. I'm going to make sure that I have some underclings and some side pulls and gas stomps. And since I already did a bunch of jugs for my endurance weave, I think that's really all I'm really going to add for jugs. So let's move on to the next biggest kind of space taking up hold, which would be like slopers. So I'm kind of trying to go in order of what takes up the most space, so that way I can fill in with the smaller things. Next we'll move on to pinches. Now I'm going to do pockets. Whoops. Up next we have the flat edges. So they're kind of like crimps, except for they don't really go in cut, they're just flat. Now I busted out the in cut crimps. Alright, so we made quite a bit of headway. This is exhausting, and I still have a handful of T-nut holes on each of the walls left. So I'm just kind of filling in with some favorite holds. I've already gone through all the different hold types, and now I'm going back through and just looking for ones that I just really wanted to make sure got on the wall. So these are like my favorite holds, and I'm just kind of putting them in there in creative places. This video is probably getting super long. This process has been way longer than I originally planned. So after I finish the majority of like the handhold areas, then I'm going to come back in and fill in footholds, and I'm going to fill in screw-on holds as well. Alright, so we're done. Every single T-nut is filled, and I even added in a bunch of screw-on holds in various places. Places where the seams of the plywood come together, just to fill in every single gap as possible. I'm going to wrap up the video here. The only things I'm going to be doing moving forward is I'm going to be taking photos and getting this re-uploaded into my spray wall apps. I'm going to re-upload it into RetroFlash and BoulderBot for sure. And I'm trying out a new app called Crux, and I've heard good things about it, so I'm going to try it on that one as well. I'm going to do a separate video that reviews Crux and sees how it goes with these spray walls, so stay tuned for that. I really love it if you'd click the chains on that subscribe button. That way I can see you in future videos. See you soon.